As police investigate the vandalism of more speed cameras, Premier Doug Ford is calling on cities to get rid of them, or he will. For more on this, let's go live to CP24's Steve Ryan. Steve, the Premier is no stranger to weighing in on municipal issues, and you have to assume that he might upset a few people with trying to, butt into Toronto's business here.
Yeah, very powerful remarks, that's for sure. So there are multiple speed cameras that have been destroyed and damaged overnight. The one we're at right now is at Lakeshore and Woodbine. Now, we have been waiting, Jamie, for Councillor Bradford. He has arrived right now, so I guess I'll just keep talking to you until he steps up, and then we'll get his remarks. So the Toronto Police are investigating all of these mischiefs that are taking place, and we're going to go right to the councillor right now, if everybody's ready. Councillor, good morning. Thanks for being here. We're live as well, so your thoughts?
Well, obviously, we condemn this type of criminal behavior, this vandalism that was obviously done in a coordinated fashion across the city. This continues to happen, and it's become an embarrassment and a joke. This is another indictment on City Hall and this administration's inability to get the basics right. And road safety is very important. The fact that we haven't found a resolution that addresses the chronic cutting down and removal of the automatic speed enforcement just shows that we continue to fail on the basics, and we need to have a better focus and prioritization of the things at City Hall.
How is that an indictment of City Hall? Isn't that an indictment of the investigators who haven't caught somebody doing something like this?
This is an indictment of City Hall and this administration because this is a city program that has been operating for a number of years. This continues to be a problem. Parkside Drive, I believe it's the 7th time that speed camera has been cut down, and the measures haven't been taken. The response hasn't been put in place to prevent that from happening. There are things, if you want the program to continue, that the city ought to be doing to reinforce the cameras to make sure that they are not susceptible to a sawzall with a battery pack and ending up on the ground every time they're reinstalled. And we haven't seen that type of action. And I think that's frustrating for a lot of Torontonians, whether or not they like speed cameras. What they don't like is their taxpayer dollars being wasted and having to send staff out to fix a problem over and over and over again. It just doesn't seem like this administration's taking it seriously or learning anything from the problems that we've seen take place over the past couple of years.
Do you think the police are taking it seriously?
Well, look, we want to make sure that these alleged criminals, suspects are being apprehended. We want to make sure that they are being charged and that they're being dealt with. And I have to assume that investigations are underway, that they're working on it.
But no suspects, no pictures.
Right.
I mean, how long do we have to go before there's any information from police?
Well, it's frustrating. I'm frustrated. I know a lot of Torontonians are frustrated. I'm sure, frankly, that they're frustrated because, when people are breaking the law, they have to be held to account. And that's a theme that we need to see more of in the city of Toronto. But with respect to this, when the same thing happens once, twice, 3 times, you got to make some changes. And every time I see the same sort of method and approach in installing these things, and we see the same outcome. So the question to City Hall, to the mayor, to the administration is, what are you going to do differently if you want to continue with the program to prevent this from continuing to happen?
The Premier said that it's a short time ago for the city to get rid of the speed cameras, or he's going to get rid of them. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good question to ask, and I think a lot of people are asking that. And again, I would go back to the mayor and the administration and say, if this is a priority, if this is something that you believe in, if this is something that you're going to stand behind, why are you not taking the steps necessary to protect those investments and make sure that these things are operational? The reality is it doesn't seem to be curbing speeding, because when you look at the numbers last year, when you look at the revenue that has been collected from the city, it continues to go up and up and up. So I think we need a better plan for road safeties for families in this city, because speeding continues to go up. The city continues to pocket more money, $40 million plus last year, and yet speeding is still taking place on our street. So,
but there's studies that have proven that these things are actually making a difference. So how can you say that they're not doing something?
Well, because what I would say is that the revenue that the city is collecting is going up year over year.
But so how does that take away from the fact that Sick Kids has put out studies saying that these are actually making a difference? So what difference does it make if the city makes revenue off of it?
Well, what I'm looking at is a city that came out and said that this wasn't a revenue exercise. This was an exercise in changing behavior. And what I'm looking at, Matt, is I'm seeing that the city is collecting more and more money every year, which would suggest to me there's still a lot of speeding going on. So can we look at other things like road design, or right here at the corner of Lake Lakeshore and Woodbine, where I put in blinking chevrons to alert people of the change of the turn radius on this dangerous curve. Are there other things that we can do from a street design perspective that makes it safer for families and doesn't just go after the pocketbooks of Torontonians?
So, Councillor, are you in favor of getting rid of speed cameras? I was still confused by your answer. Are you in favor of that?
Well, I think that when speed cameras keep ending up on the ground, that's not very effective either. And so this is a program that is not working in its current form. The fact that these things are getting cut down every time they're getting put back up is not terribly effective. And again, if the mayor wants to stand behind this program, if the premier is going to continue to provide municipalities with the permission to do it, then you have to have a program that's put in place that is not going to constantly end up being cut down and subjected to the type of criminal vandalism that we're seeing here in Toronto.
So how does capitulating to a vandal do anything for road safety?
Are we not capitulating to vandals because this continues to happen month after month here across the city? Like, that's my point, is like, let's objectively look at the program. Okay, so we said it's not about revenue, and yet the city is collecting more and more revenue year over year. We say that we're wanting to decrease speeding in the city of Toronto. The speeding numbers are going up. We see that with the revenue that is being collected.
So add more cameras.
Well, that is one option, but as we are adding cameras, they're ending up on the ground. And we're seeing this. Like, if you want to add cameras, maybe you need to encase them in concrete. Maybe you need to have some sort of fencing apparatus that's more difficult to prevent them from being cut down. But what we are doing right now is not working. And we should all just be sober and honest about that, because if the city and our contractor has to go out and replace them faster than we can install them, that's a program that's not working either.
Councillor, you just had an article in the Sun talking about your issues with crime and that more needs to be done about it. Now you're saying, are you saying that like criminals should just get away with it and we should just bow down to the fact of cutting them down, just let them get away with it?
Of course I'm not saying that. I never said that. I didn't imply that. Of course I'm not saying that. In fact, what I started by saying is this type of criminal behavior, this type of criminal vandalism has to stop. It's totally unacceptable. Law and order must be the rule here in the city of Toronto, and we've gotten away from that. This is an example of that continues to happen, and that is why I am frustrated, and it is an indictment on this administration, because the same thing keeps happening, and we're not doing anything differently to fix it. This program's not working if these things are ending up on the ground just as fast as we can install them.
But the time one of these is getting cut down, how much is it costing the city right now to reinstall them, or is that a third party that does it for the city?
My understanding, it's a third-party contractor that is on the hook for replacement costs and installation. But we, of course, are paying them. And this contract inevitably is going to come to an end at some point. And I'm sure that they will account for that next time they come and make a contract proposal to the city. So at the end of the day, it's all taxpayers' money, whether they are paying speeding tickets or they're paying for the program that is installing and reinstalling these cameras on a weekly and monthly basis.
Some people say that, some people are suggesting that the speed cameras are a cash grab. The revenue that's generated, where does that go specifically?
It's a good question. I think it goes into general revenue here in the city of Toronto. And, you know, there's a lot of people that feel like the city is not focused and prioritizing the basics that matter most to Torontonians. So again, a program that was rolled out under the guise of this is intended to change behavior continues to collect more revenue year over year, 24 numbers versus the 2022, 2023 numbers. So that to me suggests, A, we're not changing the outcomes because there's more speeding, because there's more money coming in, and B, the city's reluctance to look at doing away with it because, you know, they like the tens of millions of dollars that it's bringing in.
Would you were talking about road design. That's something that obviously Vision Zero advocates have been speaking about for ages, about the real way to address it. Would you be satisfied if this money was strictly going to road design?
I think that was the value proposition. I think that was the argument, but we haven't seen that in the results here in the city of Toronto. You can't draw a line from the $40 million that was collected in speeding fines last year into road safety improvements at City Hall. The city's budget is notoriously opaque. It's very difficult. You guys go through it every year to actually drill down line by line. Everything is bucketed. And so it's the same thing like, you know, municipal land transfer taxes. We always said that was going to go to capital. We use that to subsidize operating. It's the same playbook that this administration is taking advantage of. And I think people are tired and frustrated because their tax bill has gone up 25% over the past 3 years. And whether it is your property tax bill or it's additional fees or it's services that are off the property tax bill that you still have to pay for, like your garbage, or revenue, $40 million plus that's generated on an annual basis from these speed cameras.
But Council, these speed cameras are not a surprise to anybody. There's signs posted that say you're entering a speed camera zone. 3 months before they go up, there's signs posted there.
Go take a look at that. You guys should go take a look at that sign. Go around the bend.
The one that was there for 3 months before they installed the camera?
And you can see right now that it is obstructed by the trees. It is obstructed by a curve in the road. I'm not saying that people should be
Well, you're the councillor of this board.
Yeah,
Why don't you call train maintenance and get that trimmed then?
What I'm saying is, to the question, these have to be better signed. I think that is something that we could do. You see other municipalities like Vaughan, they're looking at putting paint on the ground, creating more awareness. You know, the response shouldn't have to be punitive. We should give people an opportunity to change behavior, to do the right thing, to not be speeding. We don't want speeding, I understand that. But there are different ways that you can accomplish that objective. To me, when you look at the numbers, and the revenue that is collected and increased year over year, this seems to be bringing in more money to the tune of $40 million plus on an annual basis, and we're not seeing the outcomes, which is reducing speeding. So let's just have the honest conversation. Is this driving the outcomes that we wanted to see? Is it working? I'm not convinced.
So can I just clarify your position? Is it or is it not a cash grab? And the second part to that would be, the cameras are acceptable if we can keep them operating and not being vandalized. Like, what is your position on the cameras overall?
I think, like, cameras in a school zone, I think that's okay. I think that makes sense. We're not in a school zone here. I think there's a lot that have gone up, quite quickly over the past year, that seem more like a cash grab, that seem more like an additional tax, that are taking more dollars out of Torontonians' pocketbooks, and we're using that to pay for the waste and the spending at City Hall. And so this program needs to be re-examined for the reasons behind us, where the speed camera is actually on the ground, for the fact that they are being cut down faster than we can install them. And, City Hall has been really revenue happy on this, and the mayor can try and spin it no matter, all the different ways that she wants to, but it's $40 million. That's more than $10 million more than we collected the year before, and we're not seeing a change in behavior where we're driving speeding down. We're seeing people just pay more money, and I think that's unacceptable.
So, Council, this is not a school zone, you're correct, but this is one of the busiest stretches, particularly in the summer. This beach is flooded, there's children around all the time. I had a chance to speak to a few of your neighbors who live right here, and they're a little dismayed that the camera's gone because they want safety measures in this area.
Yeah, again, road safety is a top priority. I have taken more road safety steps than probably anyone on council in my own ward. And again, I point to the novel design of the illuminated chevrons here, because we saw a history of people speeding through here, overcooking the corner and ending up on people's front porches. So it's very concerning. I am just suggesting it behooves us as elected officials, as leaders in the city, to take a look at the programs that taxpayers are paying for and see if they are driving the outcomes and the results that we want to see. I don't necessarily feel like Toronto's streets are safer right now. I don't necessarily feel like we are getting value for money with this program. I know it's taking a lot of money from people, but is it changing the behavior, which was the entire premise of this program when it was launched 3 or 4 years ago? The numbers continue to go up and the cameras continue to go down. So I'm not sure if this is working.
When it comes to changing behavior, I mean, how is a lighter punishment better?
So that was Councillor Brad Bradford, very animated, very frustrated by the tone of his voice. I, speaking for myself, a little perplexed or confused as to what his stance is on these cameras. I did try to narrow that down, and so my interpretation of that answer that he provided to me was that he's not in favor of speed cameras throughout the city. He did mention school zones being one of the priorities. He did say that this was in fact a revenue generator, and it was suggested by one of my colleagues that would there be more of an appetite for this if that money, those revenues, went towards road safety, perhaps even going to those families who have been affected by those that have been injured or killed as a result of speeders. That's where I think he stands on this particular situation. I do not think, by the sounds of his responses, Jamie, that he is 100% in favor of the cameras. He does say that there's a lot of revenue generated, and he says that money just goes into one big pot, and there's no real clarification as to how that money is spent. So that's my take on that, and I'll send it back to you, Jamie.
And we're going to have a lot more on that story throughout the morning and afternoon. Thanks, Steve.